Welcome to 20th century philosophy. I want to start with a little bit of the history of early 20th century and how it led to the split between analytic and continental philosophy. Philosophy at the turn of the century was heavily influenced by Kant and German Idealism, but there was also the emergence of the science of psychology, as well as the new radical ideas of Einstein and relativity. Phenomenology and existentialism followed in the tradition of idealism, focusing on conscious appearances. One of the central problems of idealism is the problem of solipsism, the idea that maybe it's only your conscious experience that exists, that if consciousness is all there is, then there might not be a world or other consciousnesses that exist outside of your own. One response to this problem was to revert to the realism of empiricism. Empiricists maintained that knowledge was grounded in sensations that were caused by external objects. You could infer truths about those objects by making judgments about combinations of sensations. So, for example, you could take this cup, and your experience of this cup obviously is your sensations. Those are features of your conscious experience. It's red, it has a tactile feeling, it has, white inside. But then you could make an inference about the collection of those sensations to the cup that was out there causing your sensations. That was the idea behind empiricism. Positivism was an extreme version of empiricism, arguing that anything that could not be verified by sensation is meaningless. This is the famous or infamous principle of verification. But the problem with positivism is that a good bit of reality can't be verified, including the principle that everything must be verified. Phenomenology and positivism developed simultaneously in the beginning of the 20th century, and philosophers from both traditions read and commented on each other's work. But around the middle of the 20th century, probably due to geographic and political differences that emerged during World War II, the two movements diverged into separate and antagonistic camps. Continental philosophy continued in the idealist tradition. They were concerned with questions about human experience and relationships, the role of power in social dynamics, the meaning of existence, and our responsibilities to one another. Continental philosophy was influenced by and influenced social theory, art, literary theory, and psychoanalysis. It's called continental because most of the philosophers in the canon are on the continent, which is to say, in Europe. Husserl, Heidegger, Sartre, de Beauvoir, Derrida, and Foucault, for example. Analytic philosophy, on the other hand, developed as a milder version of positivism. They sought to determine the nature of things through analysis, reducing things to their simplest components, both physically and conceptually. Analytic philosophy was influenced by and influenced science, logic, mathematics, and political theory. Analytic philosophers were mostly British and American, including Russell, Whitehead, Carnap, Quine, Kuhn, and Millikan. Philosophy is still deeply divided into these two traditions, although there are fields such as history of philosophy, feminism, queer theory, critical race theory, that draw on ideas from both traditions. The division is most apparent in metaphysics, epistemology, and oddly, ethics. In my area of philosophy of mind, the division is also fairly deep, but I think there's good reason for that to change, and I hope that it does.